Some teammates crossed the most dangerous line, trading their family's security for the digital rush of offshore bookmakers. We watched them lift trophies while they hid millions in debt from their managers. The football world never forgot how players who reached the peak of our sport quietly dismantled their own empires in lonely hotel rooms. From Wayne Rooney to Paul Merson, and from Keith Gillespie to Dietmar Hamann, the names change, but the massive financial ruin remains identical. 4 times the phone became a 24/7 casino. 4 times the bank accounts drained into nothing. The abstraction of digital money swallowed their legacies whole. We focus entirely on the pitch, but the real destruction happened on the glowing screens hidden in their pockets. These are the top-level players who gambled away their fortunes while everyone else cheered their names. The invisible addiction waited for them immediately after the final whistle. The absolute isolation of away trips stripped away their natural defenses. High wages mixed with deep, relentless boredom created the perfect storm for financial collapse. The digital platforms completely removed the physical sting of handing over hard cash. Millions of pounds vanished in mere hours, while the public celebrated their victories. The stark contrast between their public triumphs and private agony defines this era of the game. We celebrate the incredible goals, but entirely miss the silent battles fought inside empty hotel walls. The sheer numbers involved defy logic and shatter families permanently. The destructive pattern repeats across different decades and different dressing rooms without fail. We saw the wreckage unfold in real time, but the underlying mechanisms remained completely hidden from the stands. The abstraction of digits made the massive losses feel like a harmless game until the severe reality hit. Wayne Rooney fell recklessly into the trap during a flight from Minsk to Manchester in late 2008. He watched $65,000 vanish in just 2 hours of poker. He chased the early rush of wins that made gambling feel like easy money. That small taste of victory pulled him in, emotionally and financially, anchoring him in a pattern that escalated with every hand. He thought he had a system, a formula, but it was a trap, and the losses came faster than he could track. Telephone betting made the massive spiral effortless because he never had to visit a physical shop. The mental barrier that stops most normal people was simply not there. He admitted it was easy to place bets by phone because the cash lacked physical weight. It didn't feel like real money, he stated directly. Away trips with the national team and Manchester United became brutal isolation. Hotel stays sometimes lasted up to 10 days. The routine was monotonous. Wake up, breakfast, maybe a training session, lunch, downtime, dinner, early bed. That boredom became a breeding ground for pure escapism. He keyed in numbers and chased the subtle thrill of the wager. The initial flutter quickly escalated into chasing heavy losses. He entered thousands of pounds without the physical reminder of loss. By the young age of 20, he owed around $700,000. The massive debt snowballed while he performed under intense media scrutiny. The abstraction of the digits masked the reality of his severe situation. He felt shocked when he finally realized the magnitude of his debt. The emotional thrill proved highly addictive and created a massive illusion of harmless fun. His narrative serves as a stark warning about how idle time undermines the most disciplined mind. The environment heavily distorted his perception of value. Early wins lured him in before the repeated losses necessitated chasing. He had to actively step away and repay debts to halt the extensive damage. He pulled no punches when publicly discussing the abstracted sense of money. The hook remained completely invisible until the severe consequences emerged. This story resonates with us because we clearly see the effect of digital detachment. Context is everything in understanding this rapid and destructive escalation. He mistook luck for pure skill and interpreted initial success as predictable control. The deep emotional excitement completely masked the massive financial risk. Paul Merson faced a relentless trap that talked to him, waited for him, and never let go. He admitted that gambling remains the most destructive addiction he has ever faced. Decades after entirely beating alcohol and cocaine, this specific struggle persists like a dark shadow. The digital landscape essentially turned his mobile phone into a 24/7 casino. During the first COVID lockdown in 2020, the stakes got incredibly insane. Isolation heavily amplified the negative effect and destroyed his hard-earned savings. He blew around $160,000 of the deposit he and his wife Kate had saved to buy a house. He chased private bookie bets on highly unpredictable table tennis matches. He placed a final $8,000 wager he knew he could not possibly afford. This final bet left him battling severe suicidal thoughts while his kids played nearby. The family lost the massive money meant for their future home in mere hours. The psychological trap deeply internalizes the severe addiction. He hit his absolute low point when he told his pregnant wife to drive herself to the hospital. He remained glued to an American football game to furiously chase massive bets. The house became a tragic gallery of regret rather than a safe sanctuary. His wife's trust felt extremely fragile as he prioritized gambling over his home life. He confessed he was off my head before a Lord's cricket match. He saw an incredible $800,000 of his pension completely vanish. He kept dialing his bookie, hammering $60,000 to $80,000 on tiny micro outcomes like who would be the first batsman out. There was no strategy, only manic and compulsive impulses. His system went all over the place as rational control completely vanished. He treated trivial cricket outcomes as pure adrenaline triggers. Financial institutions immediately flagged his accounts while family members raised alarms. Over $7 million vanished through his impressive Premier League career. The emotional cadence here is relentless and unforgiving. The deep invisibility of online betting makes it his most destructive ongoing addiction. He lived a tragic cycle of physical presence and deep emotional absence. Recovery strictly required therapy and raw honesty about his deep personal failures. He heavily acknowledged the profound shame of prioritizing the screen over his strict responsibilities. The digital rush remained intoxicating and silent. Keith Gillespie faced his own massive catastrophe on a Black Friday in October 1995. The tone immediately dropped as he wiped out $47,000 in a single heartbeat. He primarily bet heavily on horse racing and football during this chaotic spree. By the end of that day, his massive debts hit $62,000. This figure represented roughly a full year's wages at the time. Kevin Keegan and Newcastle United directly intervened by advancing part of his signing-on fee. Before digital platforms existed, he only risked what he physically carried in his pocket. Online and phone accounts changed the landscape into a complete nightmare. He could seamlessly stake over $100,000 in a single day without touching any physical cash. The bookies recognized his voice and ID immediately. He was never shut out from the constant, high-stakes action. Gillespie tragically estimates over $7 million vanished to gambling and failed property investments. The speed of the digital systems completely removed any natural breaks. His valuable assets drained away, and his heavy obligations went unmet. The legal hammer finally fell in 2010 when he officially declared bankruptcy. The ongoing divorce proceedings fully erased his remaining financial cushions. Our crowd heavily absorbs the deep gravity of what one impulsive day meant over a lifetime. He lost massive millions in a way that felt completely instantaneous. The 24-hour trap provided absolutely no escape from the relentless obsession. His tragic journey from immense promise to deep peril mirrors the high volatility of the sport. Every future contract negotiation carried the heavy, dark shadow of his past debts. The metaphorical slide rule measured the massive, painful losses he endured. The complete lack of a physical barrier stripped away all his remaining control. He strongly emphasized that physical betting had practical and psychological limits. Technology severely intensified his addictive behaviors far beyond any recognition. His public story firmly warns aspiring players that life demands intense, unwavering discipline. Each lost wager heavily echoed like a massive misfired penalty. The quick decisions became a long series of slide rule calculations gone completely wrong. The immense wealth and fame failed to inoculate him against severe addictive behaviors. Dietmar Hamann experienced a massive financial gut punch through intense cricket spread betting. He sat with his eyes tightly glued to the screen as his heart hammered. He aggressively bought Australia at 340 runs. With every single run under that specific target, another $2,800 vanished instantly. Australia unexpectedly crumbled to just 237 runs. He stared in horror at a $288,400 loss in one single night. The peaceful game of cricket heavily transformed into a live audit of disaster. The deep tension was electric and highly palpable inside the quiet room. He helplessly watched his self-worth slice away along with the massive money. Every single dismissal cut sharp through the rising adrenaline. The 10th and final wicket marked the massive crescendo of his agony. The digital scoreboard essentially became a ticking countdown to catastrophe. His calculated financial strategy quickly shredded into sheer human vulnerability. Heyman stated clearly that every wicket felt exactly like a physical stab in the heart. Spread betting heavily made the game deeply personal and painfully immediate. Each ball bowled directly measured his racing heartbeat against the massive money lost. The pristine cricket field effectively became a dark arena of massive heartbreak for him. The scoreboard eventually reset, but the massive financial losses lingered in reality. His hands tightly gripped the chair with bright white knuckles. The room remained deeply silent except for the ongoing cricket commentary. A brutal and massive storm aggressively raged inside his mind. This is the stark reality where peaceful cricket and massive catastrophe violently collided. He showed us exactly how dangerously high the massive cost of leverage can reach. His night became a highly intense drama of high-stakes suspense. The financial stakes were highly colossal, and the internal stress was completely visceral. What looked like a simple, everyday wicket triggered a massive personal collapse in real time. His massive bankroll fully collapsed in tandem with his heavily strained mind. The deep illusion of strategy dissolved into a pure nightmare. Rooney, Merson, Gillespie, and Heyman faced the exact same invisible opponent. Different eras, different historic clubs, but identical financial devastation. We watched these massive scandals slowly unfold across the last 2 decades. The dressing room clearly saw the deep tension constantly build. The families became the tragic collateral damage of the digital rush. The severe abstraction of digital money fully swallowed their lifelong security. We knew the underlying pattern long before the published autobiographies officially confirmed the massive debts. The smartphones inside their pockets essentially acted as relentless 24/7 casinos. These high-level athletes reached the absolute pinnacle of European competition, but completely lost control inside lonely hotel rooms. We have to ask our crowd who actively steps in when the flashing digits finally stop feeling real. The massive sports industry continues to deeply integrate betting into the core fabric of the matchday experience. We are left intensely wondering which current rising star sits alone furiously chasing the next tiny microbet. Will the next generation successfully recognize the digital trap before the offshore bank accounts completely empty? We clearly see the massive systemic issue carefully hidden behind the extreme wealth and fame. The deep isolation of elite athletes provides highly fertile ground for severe digital addiction. We vividly remember the public apologies and the messy court filings. The sport heavily celebrates the massive high wages, but firmly ignores the deep vulnerabilities permanently attached to them. We watch the weekend games knowing the small screens hold massive equal power over the players. The hidden cycle of early wins and desperately chased losses fiercely continues fully out of public sight. We will watch the next massive fixture with these severe cautionary tales heavily echoing in the dark background. The next massive financial headline sits quietly waiting inside an empty hotel room.